winners? Let the pros show you how to make money. General Manager Al DeMarco, a regular contributor on Fox Sports, MSNBC, and Comcast Sports TV, brings over 25 years of handicapping experience to the table. CEO Steve Budin, the author of Bets, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, is the man responsible for creating the online betting industry. Together, they lead PickNation.com, your number one source for winners.
2 weekends ago, the NFL favorites had their strongest performance of the entire season, covering 10 out of 14 games. But last weekend, the underdogs bit back, going 8-6 versus the odds makers. But bottom line, this is all cyclical business, guys. At the end of the year, you may have the favorites 5-10 games over 500, or the dogs 5 or 10 games over 500, but it doesn't matter. The only thing that's important is whether or not you were on the right side of a winning favorite or a winning dog. If that was the game you keyed and you bet on, and that's why you're watching this show, the Countdown to Kickoff program, the only nationally televised show to break down all of your top games from a point spread perspective. Al DeMarco, along with Steve Budin, joining you for a 6th consecutive year here on FoxSports.com and nationwide, courtesy of Sports Time Ohio out of Cleveland. And Steve, first game on the board, we've got an NFC East showdown between two cellar dwellers, Philadelphia and Washington. Not many people expected much out of the Redskins this season, but they figured they'd be exciting with RG3, but the Eagles have just totally fallen to pieces. Andy Reid on his way out. Michael Vick is out. Nick Foles, the rookie, making the start, looking to hope for the Eagles to maybe snap a 5-game skid.
Right, so Michael Vick is out for this game, probably out for the season, maybe even out completely. And like you said, Andy Reid, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I mean, if I was the Eagles players at this point, I'd feel like I was on the set of 2.5 Men right before Charlie Sheen started to binge out because they're in complete disarray. But that's emotionally. Physically, the Eagles just can't stop the pass rush. So they can't protect their quarterback. It's only getting worse for them now that they got a rookie in there instead of Michael Vick. I like Washington here. By the way, if you're a bookmaker, you love the Eagle bettors because they're 1-8 so far this year against the spread. I think that trend continues. I'm going with Washington here.
Now, Steve brought up an interesting point here about the offensive line. The Eagles unable to really offer any type of pass protection for Michael Vick so far this season. Nick Foles, of course, a rookie, but definitely bigger than Vick, standing in the backfield. But the Eagles do get their starting right guard back today. That's going to be Danny Watkins, and that means they reshuffle the offensive line once more. Probably the best news out there is Demetrius Bell, who has been absolutely dreadful since being signed as a free agent before training camp broke. He is back on the bench where he belongs. I think the key, however, in this contest is, though, Washington doesn't get much of a pass rush. That's the thing here. The Redskins, I mean, they are an absolutely dreadful defense. Ranked 28th in the league. They give up 27.8 points a game. They're number 30 versus the pass, and the defensive statistics in terms of how their secondary gets scorched, they give up 64% completions to opposing quarterbacks who have already gotten 20 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions, and a large part of that is because their defensive line has only accounted for 14 sacks in 9 games. Now, the Eagles have certainly had their problems getting to opposing quarterbacks this season as well, but I think in this spot, this is the time you jump on Philadelphia. I know Foles only saw his first regular season action last week, but I think that he played well enough. And I think this Eagles team just, even though they're having a bad team, talent-wise, overall as a team, they're better. So I like Philly in this particular spot. Next game is going to be a real good showdown in the NFC North between the Packers and the Lions. But first, we've got to talk about fantasy football and a free contest we run every single week at PickNation.com. Steve, $500 in total prize money, and the best thing is top 20 finish in the money.
We've been doing this for 2 years now. It's been a great success. And the big thing, if you're out there, to know is 2 things. Number 1, the contest is absolutely free. Number 2, you can enter it week in and week out, as most of you do, going after that $500. The last thing I would say is that this isn't your normal fantasy football. If you're just getting to the site, just getting to the contest, you'll see this is a weekly contest. So every single week, you got a chance to go after the money, not once a year like when we were kids.
And again, top 20 finish in the money, $500 total prize pool. First place is worth $125, and as Steve said, it is free to enter, and it's instant gratification. It is over after the Monday night game between the Bears and the 49ers. On Tuesday, the winners will be announced. You can't ask for anything better than that. A free shot to win money. All you've got to do is go to picknation.com, click on the fantasy football ads, put together your roster by 1 o'clock Eastern Time here on Sunday afternoon, and you are set and ready to roll. And as Steve said, whether you entered 7 times before or this is your first time, it's free. So make sure you enter at picknation.com. Packers and Lions. Steve, Packers coming off the bye where they have been a phenomenal play, covering 6 straight games. You know, a lot of people, we talked about it last week on the show, were in love with the Lions last week at Minnesota, and they laid a big-time egg after the Vikings have been crushed in their 2 previous games by the Seahawks and Tampa Bay. Minnesota dominated the Lions, snapping their 3-game winning streak. Now, Detroit, a favorable home stretch, playing most of their games at home, but a tough opponent in the Packers.
Yeah, and Green Bay, not the same oiled machine they were last year. Obviously, they've lost that air of invincibility, but you'd be wrong to think that they're not a dangerous team. They are a dangerous team. The problem with the Packers is they're banged up at key positions, so they're having problems with that. And if you look at Detroit, well, they've shown this year that they can score with the best of them. Al, I don't think either one of these teams are going to have a problem scoring this game. I like over in this play.
Well, I can certainly see over with the Lions being on a 29-14 overrun. I can also see the Packers having covered 9 of the last 12 in the series with a push along the way. But I think you hit at the key point here. So many injuries. Clay Matthews is out. That means the Packers' pass rush is missing their most vital cog. They've still got injuries with Greg Jennings out. So many injuries on both sides of the line of scrimmage. But they are coming off the bye. I don't know. You know, if I have to put my money on Matthew Stafford or Aaron Rodgers, I'm putting it on Aaron Rodgers. But I agree with you. If you have to play it, I'd probably lean toward the over with you. But for me, it's one of those games, boom, move on to the next game, which is Atlanta, Arizona. And frankly, we can probably skip this game as well. I could care less about this contest. Falcons are a 9.5, 10-point favorite in this game. Listen, they had their dreams and their hopes dashed for an undefeated season, losing again for the 8th time in 9 games to New Orleans last week. I know I had the Falcons as my best bet last Sunday. Hit everything else, lost the best bet. And it happens that way sometimes in gambling. You've got Arizona coming in here off a bye with a 5-game losing streak. I mean, on paper, Atlanta should win this one by 20. I just don't know if Atlanta's going to be ready for this game and mentally, emotionally.
Well, they finally lost, like you said, and I think 2 good things come out of it. 1, they can forget the silly perfect season thing. But number 2, Al, is I think we're getting a little value here, because had they beat New Orleans last week, they'd be 14.5 here. Because they lost that game, they're now 10. The real problem with Atlanta is they can't run, or they can't stop the run. The good news is they're playing Arizona. Arizona couldn't run out of a burning building, and they certainly can't stop Matty Ice. I think Atlanta's a cheap favorite here, even though it's a double-digit favorite. I'm laying the big wood.
Well, you know, probably the 2 most resilient teams in the NFL off a straight-up loss are the New England Patriots, and surprise, surprise, in case you're on Jeopardy next week and Alex Trebek hits you up with the question, the answer is the Atlanta Falcons. They have covered 18 of their last 21 games following a straight-up loss. I mean, that's truly an amazing record. So I can certainly see some validity in going ahead and laying the points with the Falcons. And personally, if I had to play this game, if you put a gun to my head, I'd go ahead and play the Falcons in this one. And listen, when they're at home, coming off a straight-up loss, they've covered 8 of their last 9, and the average cover has been by 12 points. They're only laying 9.5 to 10 here. I don't know what the hell happened last week in New Orleans. I don't understand the last sequence of play calling when the Falcons had a chance to win this game and win me money, especially when they have 2nd and goal and they go pass, run, pass. Are you kidding? It's the New Orleans Saints. Isn't this what you pay Michael Turner for? Hey, Michael, get me a yard. Get me into the end zone. I don't know what the hell happened, but I do know one thing. You know, the Cardinals have that offensive line that's like a sieve. I mean, they've given up 35 sacks in the last 6 games. So, again, I'm with you. You're going to lay it. You might as well play it that way, because I don't see any reason to give John Shelton and the Arizona Cardinals any love here in Vegas. Speaking of our best bets on the card, remember, you can get them all for free, 1-day trial at picknation.com.
Right, we do the all-access pass. This is the greatest thing we've had and what separates us from all the other companies. You can come, get a free all-access pass, get every single one of our handicappers. Not a dime needs to be spent out of your pocket. We pull back the curtain, show you everything, so before you get ready to invest with us, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into.
I mean, you would have last Sunday gotten another 50-dime winner from Steve's #1 NFL crew out of Baltimore, which is like 44-23 over the past 5 years combined. You unfortunately would have gotten my best bet loser on the Atlanta Falcons, but hey, that's the beautiful thing about it. Nothing is hidden. We have total transparency at picknation.com, and we do this giving you all the plays because we feel that over the long haul, we've got the best collection of handicappers that can make you money on a consistent basis, again, over the long haul, because there's no guarantees in gambling. Nobody wins every single day in this business. That's just a way of life. And in reality, Steve, with this all-access pass, they are getting $700 worth of action for free by using this pass. In fact, last Sunday, they had a monster play from one of our handicappers, Matt Rivers, the biggest play of his career. He cashed in with Seattle in that romp against your New York Jets, and we'll talk about them in the second half of the program, his New York Jets. And hey, it would have cost you $89 if you bought that play separately. You got that play and all the plays, all the handicappers for free. And like you said, it's unique in this business.
And there's a reason why other companies don't do it. They don't want you to know what's going on in their back door. They want to grab your money first and worry about you later. Obviously, we're the polar opposite of that.
So the free one-day all-access pass, go to picknation.com. Do it now, guys. The only way you lose is if you don't take advantage of our free offer. Final game of this segment is going to be Dallas and Cleveland. Well, that's it. Let's go to the commercial break. I mean, listen, the Cowboys are 4-5 on the season. Hey, the Giants, after the 2 straight losses, are 6-4. They're sitting in second place with a chance to still win the NFC East. After 4 road games in 5 weeks, they now play 3 straight at home. But home has not been too nice for the Cowboys here of late.
No, I think this game actually comes down to who needs it more. Dallas finds themselves in the thick of the playoff hunt all of a sudden, so they definitely need it more. But what Al said is absolutely right. The problem is the Cowboys, they're terrible at home. Tony Romo, 10 interceptions the last 3 games. The last 6 games at home, they're 0-6 against the spread. The last 12, they're 2-10 against the spread. This one's a tough one. Can Cleveland get the backdoor cover? That's what everyone's thinking this time. But with Dallas, you always have to go against the trend. So I'm betting Dallas here. I'm laying the 7.5. God help me.
Hey, and listen, the thing with the Cowboys, Steve touched on a couple of those ATS negative trends about how pathetic they've been at home. But when they've been asked to lay points here in Vegas, they've been atrocious. 5-17-1 in their last 23 games against the spread when cast as a favorite. 5-17-1. You're a former bookmaker. My gosh, you had customers, I'm sure, back in the days, they go against trends like that, they were just losing their shirts week after week.
Well, because what happens is that those trends are incorporated into the line. So you're seeing a line that bases itself on everything that's happened up to this point. So you're just banging your head against the wall by quoting stats when they're already in the line.
Listen, you see that Dallas win last week, 38-23 at Philadelphia, but keep in mind, 2 of their touchdowns came thanks to their defense. 1 came because of a special team screw-up by Philadelphia, so it wasn't a great offensive performance. But all said and done, I would still go ahead and lay the points and buck the trends that go against the Cowboys and lay it with Dallas in this particular game because Cleveland's another team I just can't show any love to at all when it comes to putting my money on a team. Hey, that's going to conclude part 1 of this week's show. We are going to be back in just a moment. First game up, St. Louis and his New York Jets.